What you looking at? Hi everybody. Welcome to Tuesday. It's Tuesday. How do I remember that it's Tuesday? It's because I played video games today. I did a first 20 stream, and for the most part, in the past probably year, we've done that exclusively on Tuesday. Is there a reason for that? Not really. Not really. The main reason has just been I can announce it on breakfast stream if I know I'm going to do it, and I think that that's kind of helpful. It's like that morning I already got people there, so I can be like, hey, do you want to watch more stuff? I'll do things today. As opposed to try and remember tomorrow on a Wednesday when we don't normally stream. That's basically why I've done it. Anyway, I played some games today. And I had a variety of... I had a pretty wide variety of genres that I covered today. I had a group of 6 or 7 games, and then I let chat narrow that down through voting. And as a result, all of the games today were chosen by chat, with the exception of the last one, which is something that I requested specifically from the dev. So let's start with the first game, which was Rustler. Now this is really weird for me, because I have had a pretty firm stance over the last few years of only covering games that were out, that were not in early access, that were not beta, anything, that they were like out, you could buy them, it wasn't an early look. And recently I've thought more about it, and I'm like, you know what? I'm okay with loosening this rule. This doesn't have to be a hard and fast rule. I've also had some rules about First 20 in the last few years. Will only cover things within the last 3 years. So it has to have been released or re-released in the last 3 years. And like, it doesn't, it's fine. Anyway, returning to the game. Rustler. Rustler is a game in early access. It's the first early access game we've covered in a long time. I brought it to the channel, or I brought it to voting, primarily because I really truly thought that the audience would enjoy it. It is advertised as Grand Theft Horse, and they really push that angle. And they honestly, for what it is, I mean, it is early access, they've done a pretty good job with it. It's got that same Grand Theft Auto tone. It's flippant. It's got certainly some adult language and humor in it. It's actually kind of funny because it's contrasted against the medieval setting. As the game opens, there's like a peasant rapping while 2 bards stand behind him and play the lute, and it's just kind of ridiculous. It's very self-aware of what it is, because it has to be. When you're running from the cops, I'm gonna call them cops, man. They're on horseback, but there are actual lights, so I'm gonna call them horse cops. If you want to get away from them, you have to like zoom into a barn called Pimp a Horse, which is obviously a straight homage to I can't remember what the car painting thing is called in Grand Theft Auto. It just slipped my mind. I'll think of it in editing, and then I'll put it on screen. Gosh darn it. Anyway, it was cute. It was funny. It is still definitely rough around the edges because it's in early access, but for what it is, it's I thought it was humorous. And of course, horses has become a bit of a meme in the community because, I mean, really various things. So I think chat enjoyed that aspect as well. Next up, we completely different. We played a 2D point-and-click adventure game called Tales of the Neon Sea. And it's set in like a cyberpunk world. The beginning is unfortunately really slow. We actually played it for quite a while, nearly an hour. It was extremely interesting, but the beginning of it, there was like a whole prologue sequence that we had to play through, and it moved a little slow. But once we finally got to the meat and potatoes, about 30 to 40 minutes in, I found it really, really fascinating. It revolves around this detective who is a bunch of like cybernetic enhancements, and also can talk to a cat, and the cat can talk back. You as the player don't get to know what the cat is saying because the cat's dialogue just reads meow meow, but our protagonist knows what the cat is saying. It's just dripping with references. One of the robots that you meet early on in the game is clearly a reference to Wall-E. Whenever I got outside the apartment and started walking around, I passed a 712, not the 711, but the 712. And then as we got just a little bit further into it, there's a whole gameplay section that I would assume would be a recurring thing in the game, where you're actually playing the role of a detective and you're looking at a crime scene and you're trying to figure out exactly what happened and put the wheels in motion. It was really neat. It was really neat. But I think the thing that got me the most is, I mean, yes, the story and the bits of lore, especially a bunch of additional lore that you gain access to that you don't have to read if you don't want to slow down the story, but you can. But the sprite work, the game is gorgeous. I don't know that I've seen a game that has such beautiful pixel art in it before. Going with this like neon underbelly of the city vibe is just really, really cool. And for folks that are fans of this particular genre of game, it might be one to look out for. I found it very interesting. And again, we played probably about an hour of it. The beginning is slow, but it's very pretty. After that, and again, all of these were voted on. Next up was Minoria. This is by the same team that did the Momodora series, and apparently it's a spiritual successor to that. I did not play that, so I don't really know anything about it. I just know that it is it's a Metroidvania. It's a 2D Metroidvania that has a fairly big emphasis on combat. It has a dodge button, as I was joking on stream. It has a dodge button. You can dodge, you can parry. It revolves around it's a little out there. It revolves around some nuns that are fighting witches, and there's some amount of level up system, because as you fight enemies, you get experience points, so you're getting stronger. You've got melee attacks, but you also have a wide variety of magic. I forget what the word they used for this was now, but all sorts of different things that you could cycle through and use. Like you could heal yourself, you could do projectile attacks, etc. And there's no, I mean, from when I played the first like 30-40 minutes of it, there's no way to refill them outside of hitting save points. You get to a save point, it automatically refills all your life, it automatically refills all of your magic stuff, your projectiles. It doesn't look like there's any way to do that outside of that, but the checkpoints, the save points were pretty frequent throughout the level, so it was fine. The only thing that was a little odd, and it was a little odd to me, and it was odd to the audience, because I looked over and everyone in chat was like, there was a moment where there's a character on screen and they're not moving, and their idle animation was just, well, it was a choice. Someone while designing that game made a choice, and it's so strange because otherwise there was not really anything like that, but that one character, I was like, okay, so really taking some cues from the Dead or Alive series, I guess. But otherwise, it seemed fun. Certainly not as the level of polish or intrigue, really, for me, that like I got from, let's say, Hollow Knight, which also has a kind of a similar battle system. I thought that was a far more polished and interesting game. But Minoria was still cool, and clearly it has ties to this previous series. So if you're a fan of that Momodora series, you almost certainly should be checking this out, because it's somewhat related. And then finally, the last game we played today was a game that I personally requested from the devs because I just thought it looked super cute. And I was right. Tiny Lands. The way I described this is, if you remember being a kid and flipping over the placemat for the children's menu and having all the games and activities, one of the things was a Spot the Differences game, where you've got two images that are nearly identical but not quite. This is just that, except now it's in 3D space, so you can actually move the image around and try and find the differences in a 3D world. It's super cute. It's just super, super cute. And it's the perfect level of casual for some people at some times. There's another game that we played a few years ago on First 20 called Hidden Folk. And it was kind of it's not the exact same concept, but it was that same level of casual. It was basically Where's Waldo. essentially. It was a find this in the picture style game, and it also, Hidden Folk had a really interesting soundtrack where no instruments were used. It was all just like mouth noises, and that one was super cute too. But both of the games, Tiny Lands was really, I don't know, it's something that really struck me whenever I got the email a few weeks back, and I looked at it and I was like, I just want to play this. This just looks really cute and fun, and reminds me of childhood. And there was a lot of people in Twitch chat that agreed. So if you're looking for something that's just really casual, wide audience, because, you know, I'm in my 30s and I thought it was cute and fun, and obviously a kid would get a lot of joy out of it, then maybe look into Tiny Lands. I really enjoyed that. Anyway, that's it. That's all I did. There was certainly time, actually, for more. We got started at 2, and I think we were done at 5, maybe a little after 5. So we did pretty good. And again, almost an hour of that was spent on Tales of the Neon Sea. I have got so many more games that could theoretically be played. I really do like the model of letting chat vote, because a lot of times the audience interests and my interests do not always line up completely. I love video games, and I love trying all sorts of video games, but I definitely have preferences for certain styles of games, and occasionally I'm just going to put my foot down and be like, all right, I want to play this. However, it's really interesting to get that input, especially live, of like, well, what do you guys want to see? And then just very clearly, overwhelmingly, the audience choosing something. A lot of past First 20 streams we've done, you know, I've been thinking, oh, they'll probably choose option A. And then like 60% or more like option B. And I'm like, oh, okay. You know, and when you're dealing with that level of data that quickly, you're like, well, shoot, you know, shows how well I know the audience. But yeah, there's still plenty of games to play, and we might be doing another First 20 stream sooner rather than later. We'll see. Probably be doing one in March at the bare minimum, so not too much longer. And that's it. I don't have a whole lot of other stuff to talk about. I'll quickly mention because I get a lot of requests to talk more about camera stuff. I'm going to just quickly mention this because today there was also something I was really excited about, and that was the official announcement for a new Sony camera. I've been shooting the vlog on Sony now for over 2 years. I got the Sony a6400 in 2019, and I have loved it. The Sony cameras have a level of autofocus that just it can't be matched, and certainly other cameras have very compelling features, but for me, autofocus has been a key one, and it really blows Panasonic out of the water. Panasonic's got some other stuff going for it, for sure, but when it comes to autofocus, it's one of the reasons I went with Sony, and I have really enjoyed it for the past 2 years. But Sony announced the FX3 today, which was a very interesting camera. It's a very interesting camera. When the A7S III came out a few months ago, that was something that, you know, a lot of people in the camera world have been waiting on for years. And finally, after all this time, released. And it's an extremely compelling, good camera. Almost certainly the successor to the vlog camera. It's just a really good follow-up for what I've been using. However, for someone that doesn't already have an A7S III and doesn't need some of the specific features, an FX3 could also be an interesting choice. It is essentially the same camera. The body style is a little bit different, but it's not, for my specific use case, it could really go either way. It's slightly more expensive, but not terribly expensive when you're already paying that much money for a camera. So we'll see. I'm not making any purchases anytime soon. I mean, short of something exploding. Knock on couch. I need this vlog camera to continue working, ideally. But certainly gives me something to think about. And that's your little dose of camera talk. I know that there's a few of you out there that share my love and admiration for cameras and those sorts of visual technologies. So yeah, it's something that I'm paying attention to. I was watching some of the YouTube reviews of it to try and glean some extra information. Definitely bummed about not getting internal NDs, because that would have been a very clear choice, like, oh god, that's a great camera. But also, sure, it's fine. I'm really hoping that a software update will add waveforms and scopes and shutter angle, because what the crap, Sony? It's a cinema camera. You wrote it on the body. Put your money where your mouth is. Okay, now I'm done. I promise. See, something for gamers, something for folks into cameras. It's a great vlog. Thanks for watching. Let's meet back tomorrow, shall we?